You've planned and you've carefully selected the puppy that seems to fit you and your family. And as you're driving down the road with a pair of floppy ears snoozing in your lap or on the back seat with your kids, you just start to picture what life is going to be like with a dog. And it's a little bit intimidating, and you start to think, what are we going to do when we bring this thing home? Let's investigate. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pet Doc Sherlock, where we work to solve the mysteries of pets. This is the third episode in a three-part series about getting a new puppy. So if you haven't seen the first two, I really encourage you to go check those out first. The links will be in the description to this video, and it's a great place to start if you're considering getting a new puppy. But if you've already got that puppy and you're on your way home, or you're soon to pick up your puppy, think about it this way. You are literally an alien to your dog, and you came into its world, abducted him, and took him to a new world where he is completely foreign. So, at the base level, you have to understand that the first day you bring your puppy home, it may not go the way you think it will. And it may be just fine, but at some point your puppy's going to realize he's away from his family. He's away from what he used to know, and it's going to take him a bit to get used to that. So let's take a look at how we can make that transition easier for your puppy, and how we can set him up for success and to better adapt to his new surroundings. The first thing to think about when bringing a new puppy into your home is if you already have other pets. You may have another dog, or you may have a cat, and they've been there a while, so they've established this place as their territory. They feel safe, they feel comfortable, they have certain things that are their own, and if you just immediately bring this little headstrong puppy into their environment, they're going to think, who the heck is this guy, and why is he into my stuff? So that doesn't tend to go too well, and that doesn't get that relationship started off on the best paw, if you will. So what I always recommend is if you have a dog, try to find a way to have that dog and that puppy meet on neutral territory. So say a park where there's not too many dogs around, because exposing a non-vaccinated puppy to a really busy park is dangerous for different diseases, but taking them to a friend's house or a park that doesn't have a lot of dogs, or just some kind of neutral territory if possible to allow them to meet. And don't let them just run up to each other right off the bat. What I like to start with is sight. So have your dog on a leash and walk them around, and so they can see that puppy and see how they're interacting. You don't want them to be overly energetic about it. You want them to have a fairly calm demeanor. So walk them until that energy is released, and then slowly decrease the space between them until they're able to smell each other. Again, keeping your dog on a leash, so that way if they get tense, if you notice their bodies just freeze, or the hair stand up on your dog's shoulders, then you can pull them back. But as long as that goes well, allow them to interact, allow them to smell each other. Always have treats that you can give to each one to tell them that they're doing a good job. Be careful in this area though, because if your dog starts exhibiting behavior where he's tense and his hackles are raised, that hair on the back of his neck and his shoulders, and you're telling him good boy, you're encouraging the bad behavior. So always pay attention to the behavior that you want and reward that. So if everybody's calm, if everybody's bouncing back and forth and happy, tails are wagging, that's when you give the treat. And then after they've met each other, it's time to take them home and see how they interact on the home turf. And what I like to do there is bring the puppy into an empty house. Have the other dogs still outside taking a walk through the neighborhood or in the backyard. And if you don't have neutral territory for them to meet, if you don't have a park, if you don't have a friend's house, this is kind of the best way to do that, and that's remove your dog from the house and bring the puppy in. And then after the puppy's had a minute in a room to just kind of hang out and sniff around, then bring your dog back in, still on a leash, and see how they do. Because your dog may have a particular thing that he loves. It may be his couch, it may be his bed, it may be his water bowl, it may be his favorite toy. And once your little puppy finds that, You don't want them to have an altercation in which he's defending his toy that she just wants to play with, and then you have bad things result. So it's best to keep your dog on some kind of leash that you can pull him back if anything happens. And then after they've interacted for a while, it's okay to kind of let him off the leash, see how he interacts with her and vice versa, and just keep a close eye on them. You need to watch them and how they interact together for the next couple of weeks, because like I said, every dog is an individual, and they all have their own triggers, and you may not know what that is for a while. And you need to make sure that they're playing appropriately, and that they're interacting appropriately. And the other thing is, if they start playing well together, make sure they're not playing too rough. And sometimes that's hard to gauge, because if you have a 65-pound lab, and the lab that you brought home is 8 pounds, they kind of see themselves as equal, and they'll play that way. And I have had many appointments for poor little puppies who have broken a leg just because they were playing with somebody bigger than them. So please keep an eye out for that, watch for that, and make sure you can kind of regulate how intense the play is if you can. If you have a cat at home, it's a little bit of a different ball game. Make sure you walk into the home first before the puppy, see where the cat is, and kind of close the cat off away from the areas you're going to have the puppy that day. And that way you don't kind of come in and, as we know, cats and dogs don't always get along and have some kind of tussle right off the bat. Ideally, you'd have the cat and the puppy separated for quite some time so that they can smell each other in the house. Then I like to have like some kind of baby gate where they can see each other through the baby gate, and then allow them to interact several days after that and see how it goes. And again, make sure you're around in case things get a little too intense, but usually cats are pretty good at hiding and getting up high and avoiding anything too intense.